Hi, welcome to this Yoga for Runners practice. In this, you're going to need a yoga block. If you don't have a yoga block, a book, a dictionary, something thick, or a rolled towel, or maybe a firm couch pillow would do just fine. And a ball. So a tennis ball, racket ball, this is a lacrosse ball, and I prefer it because it's a little firmer than a tennis ball. But just a ball to roll our feet with later on, and you can even purchase something that is purposely made for rolling your feet or rolling your legs. So grab those things, set them aside, and then we'll go ahead and get started. We're going to just get right into it with some sort of intense movements to warm up our body, particularly our low body. So we're going to start in a tabletop position as if you're going to do cat-cow, because we are, but just a little bit of a different version of it. So you want to make sure that your shoulders are right above your wrists and your fingers are spread out wide and you're pressing each knuckle and the entire palm into the mat. So that's going to help keep pressure out of your wrists. We're going to tuck our toes for this. And you're going to inhale, dropping the belly and looking up. And then on your exhale, you're going to hover the knees and push the ground away, arching the spine and looking towards your belly. And then inhale, you can drop the knees, come back into that cow, hammocking the spine. And then exhale, pushing the ground away, hovering the knees, reaching the spine up for the ceiling. And again, inhale. You want nice, deep, slow breaths. Exhale, and we're matching the movement with the breath. So no pauses with the breath, no pauses with the movement here. Let's take two more. Nice and slow with the breath. And then you can just meet back with the knees down, untuck your toes, take a breath here. We're going to tuck the toes again and hover those knees. You really want to be pushing the ground away through your hands. So shoulders are protracted, belly's really tight. Staying here if this is enough, or if you want a little more challenge, extend that right leg back behind you for 3, 2, 1. Bring those toes down, hover the knee still, and then extend the left leg back. Holding here, 3, 2, 1. Bringing the left toes down, hovering the knees, holding here for 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and drop the knees, untuck the toes, and press yourself back to child's pose. So knees come out wide so that you can bring your chest down towards the mat. Forehead comes to the mat. You're sitting back on the heels, reaching the arms out long. For some, you may not have your hips all the way down on your heels, and that's okay. You want to have your forehead resting on the mat. So if you have to lift the hips to do that, that's fine. Take two more deep breaths here. Good. Let's come back through hands and knees and into plank. So again, really pushing the ground away. Belly is tight, tailbone is tucked under. And if you need to modify and take a plank from your knees, that's just fine. Building heat here in the body. If you want more challenge, shift the weight to the left hand, tap the left shoulder with the right hand, and then we'll switch. Left hand taps the right shoulder, hand plants, lift that right leg and lower it. Lift the left leg and lower it. Let's go around one more time, tapping the left shoulder, tapping the right shoulder, lifting the right leg, and then lifting the left leg. Good. Go ahead, drop your knees and come back into a child's pose for 2 breaths. And then we'll press into our hands, tuck our toes, and let's meet in downward dog. So that inverted V shape with the body here. You want to be pushing into the palms and getting the chest a little closer to your legs. And it's okay if your knees have to be bent in order to lift the hips up so that you don't have all the weight in the shoulders. And we'll just pedal out the heels a little bit. Maybe sway the hips a little side to side, or some hops on the heels, or maybe come up on the toes, bend the knees deep, and stretch those feet. Whatever feels good to you here. And then we'll slowly walk our feet up to our hands. And just keep the feet separated, hip width apart. So we've got about 2 fists between our big toes and our heels here. And let's just hang in ragdoll. You can grab opposite elbows and let the body hang heavy over the legs, maybe swaying a little side to side. And then we'll release the elbows and slowly roll up to standing. Maybe taking a few shoulder rolls once you come up. And we're going to take a 3-part chair. So you'll inhale your arms straight out in front of you and pull those shoulders back, lift the chest, and then exhale, take a seat. Take a nice low seat. You can reach forward just a little bit here in order to sort of counterbalance the hips lowering. Belly's tight, weight's back in the heels so you can lift those toes. And then we'll slowly rise up and onto our toes and slide down an imaginary wall. So here we want to keep our shoulders stacked over our hips. You're going to come down low, but really our focus is getting the heels up as high as we can. That's the main point here in this second part of chair. Working all the muscles in the feet and ankles. Slowly come back up. Drop your heels, keep your arms strong. Feel that heat we're creating in the body already. We'll bring our heels up about an inch or so, squeeze the knees and thighs together, and slide back down that imaginary wall. If it's okay on your knees, you're going to come to a hover over the heels, but keep the knees lower than the hips. Keep breathing. Keep squeezing the legs together. Slowly rise back up and release. Take a breath here in mountain pose. We'll bring our feet back together. We're going to move through some flows here. So inhale, we'll take this first one really slow. Inhale your arms up. And then exhale, fold forward, rounding over the legs. Again, bend your knees if you need to. Inhale, lengthen the spine. So chest and gaze forward, pulling belly in. And then on your exhale, you're going to plant your hands and step the left foot back. It's going to be at a 45-degree angle, setting up for warrior one. You're going to inhale, lifting up into your warrior one. So if you'd like, you can lift your front toes when we do this. It's going to engage all of those muscles around the knee joint and can help strengthen your knee. So you'll inhale up to a warrior one with that option to lift the toes if you'd like. On your exhale, we're coming out into warrior two, opening up the arms in either direction. And then you'll inhale, reaching the right arm back and over. Left arm will round in front of you. And then exhale, tilt towards the front of your mat. Switch your arms. Inhale back again. And then exhale, plant your hands. Coming onto the ball of that back foot, you'll take an inhale here in a high lunge, reaching the chest high. And then exhale, left foot meets the right and fold forward. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, plant your hands, send the right foot back now. Doing the same thing here on this side. So lifting up to your warrior one, maybe lifting those toes. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, Reaching back. Exhale, reaching forward. Inhale, reaching back. Exhale, plant your hands into that lunge. Now lifting that back heel, inhale. And then exhale, step forward and fold. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, send that left foot back. So we're going to do this with our breath now. Inhale to warrior one, option with the toes. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, reverse. Keep the hips low. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale, hands plant, lifting the back heel. Inhale, feel that stretch in your left hip flexors. Exhale, step forward and fold. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, step the left foot back, setting up for your warrior one. Then inhale up to it. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, reverse. Exhale, forward. Inhale, reverse. Exhale, hands plant. High lunge. Inhale, lift the chest, lengthen the spine. And then exhale, step forward and fold. Inhale, lengthen. We'll do it one more time. Exhale, step it back, setting up. Inhale, up. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, reverse. Exhale, forward. Inhale, back. Exhale, plant your hands, high lunge. And exhale, step forward and fold. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, step back, setting up. Inhale up. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, back. Exhale, forward. Inhale, back. Exhale, plant your hands, high lunge. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, step it forward and fold. Inhale, reach the arms up and come up to standing. Exhale, arms to your side. Take a nice round of breath here. Good. We're going to come into a high lunge. So if you need to bring your hands down for support to step back, you can. Not necessary, but you want to have the left foot back and that leg extended long, and you want the heel stacked over the toes. You want to make sure you feel stable here, making sure that the right foot is in a different lane of traffic than your left foot. We're not trying to do a high lunge on a tightrope. So once you get set up here, you'll inhale, arms up. And then exhale, we're going to dip that left knee down, squeeze the elbows together behind you. Inhale, back up. Exhale, dip down. Inhale, exhale. We're going to do two more. Inhale, exhale. Last one. Inhale up. And then we're going to exhale, hinge at the waist, power lunge. Inhale up. Exhale, hinge forward. If you need to modify, bring your hands to heart center instead. Inhale and exhale. Good. Inhale back up. And then exhale, you can plant your hands to step forward and switch the feet. So now right leg will extend back and we'll come up into that lunge. So you want to make sure you have a nice solid lunge here to start. Inhale, exhale, dip for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Inhale up. Exhale, hinge forward, power lunge. For 3, 2, and 1. Plant your hands and step back to downward dog. Pedal out your legs here. Take one more deep breath. Good. We're going to inhale the right foot forward, plant the back foot, open up to warrior 2. So coming down nice and low. Again, anytime you're in a warrior position, you can take that option, lifting the toes, if you feel like that would benefit you to strengthen the knee a little bit. We're going to inhale and then exhale into extended side angle. So your right elbow will come to the top of that front knee, and you're going to slice your left arm out and to the side of your head. That just helps with shoulder rotation. If we just reach over, our shoulder joint kind of gets stuck in place. So slice it out in front of you. You want to create a nice long line from your left heel all the way out the left side of the body. We don't want to collapse here in that elbow to knee connection. Keep the torso long. And if you want, you can make this a little more challenging, lifting the right arm away from the knee. Inhale back to your warrior 2. And then we're just going to turn the right toes in, left toes towards the back, and come down into your warrior 2 here. So settle down nice and low. Make sure that back leg is engaged. You want to roll the outer edge of that back foot down. And then extended side angle. So slicing the right arm out in front. Feel that big stretch there in the right side of the body. Maybe for these last couple breaths, if you took that option on the other side, lift your left arm away from your knee. Inhale, back to your warrior 2. We'll turn the left toes in and right toes towards the front again, and you can keep this leg straight. We're going to go into extended triangle. So inhale, nice long spine, and then exhale, reach forward, keeping your hips stable. Don't pop your hip out to the side. Keep your hips stable. Reach as far as you can forward, and then rotate your arms down. Reaching left arm up at 12 o'clock. Your right fingertips can rest on your shin or ankle, or maybe you can grab your big toe with your 2-piece fingers. But the goal here isn't how low of a grip you can get, but keeping your torso in line with that front leg so you're completely flattened out if someone's looking at you from the front or the back. So big stretch here in your psoas, pushing into that left heel, lengthening the spine. And then we'll inhale back up, turning the right toes in and the left toes towards the back, keeping that leg straight, keeping your hips stable. Reach forward and then rotate your arms coming into it. Maybe even thinking about pressing your hips a little more forward and bringing your upper body a little more back. Really get that sense of flattening out when someone's looking at you from the front or the back. We'll inhale back up, turning the left toes in and setting up for a wide leg stretch here. So we want our feet right below our wrists. Unless you're really flexible, you can work the feet a little closer together. You want the toes slightly inward here. We're going to take an inhale, lengthen, and then exhale, hinge at the waist. Really long spine, so lead with your chest and chin all the way down. Then we're going to grab our big toes with our 2-piece fingers. With that grip then, take another inhale, lengthen, and then exhale, fold. So if you need to bend your knees a little bit, that's fine. You want a nice long spine, so try to take any rounding out of the spine. Try to roll the weight forward in the feet. Maybe even a micro bend in the knees if you're hypermobile in your joints. Really activate the quads here. And then we'll inhale halfway up, releasing your grip, staying here for an exhale as you bring your hands to your hips. And then inhale slowly all the way up to standing. Heel toe the feet towards one another to shorten your stance. We're going to come down into a squat. So coming down to stretch the hips. So you want to get down as low as you can, chest lifted, palms to heart center, press the elbows into the knees. And if you need some support, you can sit on your block or you can move up against a wall so that you can be supported by the wall. But we're just trying to stretch into the hips here. We'll come into a bit more of an active squat in just a minute. So take a couple last breaths. And then we'll slowly come up. If you want to bring your hands in front of you there for support to come back up, you can. And we're going to come down into more of an active stretch or squat. So you'll come down about halfway. Hands still at heart center. And you're going to hold here. And if this is enough, just stay holding here. If you want a little more of a challenge, you can lift the right toes and lower, and the left and lower. Sorry, not the toes, the heel. Lift the right heel then and down, and the left and down. So feel your calf muscles here are working with you. And we'll do 2 more on each side. And then let's see if we can't lower both heels at the same time and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then press back up. Good. And we'll just come back into downward dog. Stretch out the legs. And then our last standing posture we're going to do, you walk your hands back to your feet, and then we'll inhale up to standing, reach up and stretch, and then exhale, hands down. So bring your feet together if they aren't already, and we're going to take eagle. So you're going to inhale, I'll face you here. We'll inhale our arms up. Keep in mind, I'm not mirroring you though. So right arm will swing under the left. You want to try to cross your elbows and your wrists. Palms are touching, thumbs are towards you. But if you're not getting the elbows crossed, you may just need to grab opposite shoulders. That's okay. And then you're going to sink down, bring your right leg up and over, really squeezing everything tight. Pull the elbows down, broaden the chest. Feel that release in the neck and shoulders. Squeeze a little tighter, maybe lower the hips a little lower. Start to feel that stretch in the glute, compression in the hips, compression in all the major joints here, really. And then on the inhale, we're going to release. Inhale, arms reach up, and then exhale, left arm swings under. Sinking down, left leg up and over. Trying to get the toes tucked behind the calf if you can. If not, you're still just squeezing the legs together, squeezing the lower parts of the legs together, as if you are making that connection. Point the toes back. And then we'll release. Inhale. Exhale, arms to your side. Okay, so now you can grab that ball, and this is actually a good place if you ever want to just fast forward through everything we just did and come into this portion of the class, maybe after a run, if you're needing some stretching or a good cool down. So we're going to roll our feet with this ball. You're going to take it under the ball of your foot and go back and forth. And you're in charge of how much pressure you put by putting a little more weight into that, if that feels good. And You're going to continue going back and forth across your foot, maybe working towards that arch now, going back and forth. And you can start to go across long ways into the foot. If there's a certain pressure point that feels really good to maybe just stop and put your weight into it, take some deep breaths there. That's fine too. Eventually getting down to your heel. So rolling our fascia is so important. And this is actually a pretty cool thing to do to show you how important it is. Let's finish up here, maybe one or two other breaths, and then we'll switch feet. So I like to, in some of my classes, I'll have my class, you can go ahead and switch, um, try to touch their toes before they start rolling the bottom of their foot. And just take that as a measurement of where you're at. And then roll the bottoms of your feet about a minute on each foot, and then try again. Try to touch your toes. And there's an incredible difference in how much lower you can go just from rolling the bottom of your feet. So we have a sheet of fascia that runs from the bottom of our feet up the entire backside of our body and up to our forehead. So it's important to roll that out, drink a lot of water so that that doesn't get stiff. But especially with runners and feet, I feel like runners usually have plantar fasciitis or some kind of foot issue related. And it's important to roll your feet out, but also work on strengthening them as well. So that three-part chair we did earlier where we were up on our toes and coming down, you're building strength in the feet. When you wear shoes, particularly running shoes, your feet are so supported that it actually weakens the muscles in your feet, and that's what causes the problem. So it's important to pay a lot of attention to your feet. So once you've done that, we're going to come down onto hands and knees. We're going to set up into a low lunge now. So you'll bring your right foot forward and your left knee is on the mat. And again, you still want the right foot and the left knee in different lanes of traffic here so you feel stable. And you want to have, to start, I want you to stack your hip over your knee and have this sense of heavy tailbone, belly tight. All right, so that then when we start to come down into this runner's lunge, we keep that as we come down, and you're going to get a way better stretch here. You might not come down very far, but you're going to be stretching where you need to be stretching even more so by doing that. When we tilt the pelvis forward, we have this anterior tilt to the pelvis. It actually creates slack in the psoas, so then you can come way down, and that's great, but you're probably not going to feel anything that way. So we want to have that tailbone tucked, belly tight, to come down into it. And you can have your hands on your front knee for support. You can even have your block handy, because as we stay here, we might go a little deeper into it if that feels okay to you. And as you come down a little deeper, make sure that your knee doesn't start coming in front of your toes. You can walk your foot out a little bit if you're coming down lower to keep that from happening. So here, if it feels okay now, you can come down onto your hands either on a block or on your mat even if you're able to come down that low, or maybe even onto your elbows on a block or a mat. You can let the right knee swing out wide if you'd like, feeling that stretch in the right hip as well. And also make sure those back toes are pointed straight ahead and you're not sickling the foot inward, because you'll feel a better stretch if those toes are pointed straight back behind you. Let's take a couple more breaths here. And then we're going to plant our left hand either on your mat or on a block and come into a twist. So right hand will come to that right knee and you'll look over your right shoulder. Take a couple breaths here. You can stay here in this twist, or if you want to add a quad stretch, bend the back leg and reach back with your right hand for that foot. And if you aren't able to reach the foot, you can use a strap here in place to find that grip and maybe experiment a little with bringing the hips back towards that heel or bringing the hips forward. You'll feel a different stretch in the quad. So you find which one you like there. Stick with it. 2 more breaths. Good. Release that grip. Plant both hands, and we're going to walk our right foot over to the left side of our mat. That right knee will drop behind the right hand, and you'll slide the left leg straight back. So we're setting up for pigeon, and I'm going to give you a couple options here depending on what you feel like you need most. So you can stay up and try not to have yourself supporting with your hands or maybe even just lightly supporting. So here we'll be building more strength with our hips. You could come down if you'd like into more of a stretch, stretching your hip and your IT band. If this is too intense, you can bring that left leg out to the side to modify, leaning over, still stretching that right hip and leg. Again, you want to keep the left toes, if that leg's extended, you want to keep the left toes pointed straight back. So you take whatever version you need there. If you're leaning over the leg to get the stretch, you might want to use your block to rest your head on so that you can relax into it as much as you can. Try to release any gripping that might be happening in that right hip and leg. We'll do one more breath. And then you can just shift your weight over to the right hip and swing your left leg forward. And we'll do a single leg forward fold stretch. Let's keep this leg straight though. So if you can't reach your foot without bending the knee, just reach for your lowest grip. Maybe it's your ankle or your shin, or maybe you just place one hand on either side of your leg. But find your lowest grip and then inhale, nice long spine, and exhale. Try to keep length in the spine as you come down over that leg. And then relax your head. So maybe your head can release down to your leg, but if not, just tuck the chin a little and make sure that there's no tension in your neck and shoulders. You can let the head be heavy. Take some nice deep breaths here. Last one. And then you'll inhale up. So let's make our way to our hands and knees again to set up so we can do all of that on the other side. So now we're going to bring the left foot out in front of us, setting up into that lunge. So shifting the hips forward, keeping the right toes pointed straight back behind you. Make sure, again, tailbone tucked, belly tight. Really feel that stretch in the right hip flexor. Breathe deeply into that tension. And then you can come down a little lower, maybe onto your hands or elbows, maybe onto the mat or using a block, whatever you did on the other side. Try to do that here as well, but do note that each side is different. So you might feel like one side is a lot easier than the other. Hips are usually It's common that one of our hips is a lot tighter than the other one. We'll take 2 more breaths before moving into that twist. And then plant your right hand on your mat or your block, left hand to that left knee. Look over your left shoulder. I'm going to try to keep the spine nice and long. So now if you did on the other side, you're going to bend that back leg and reach for your foot. Maybe, again, experimenting whether keeping the hips forward or moving the hips back to the heel. See where you get the best stretch there. Take one last breath. And then release that foot back to your mat. Both hands plant in front of you and walk your left foot over to the right side of your mat, sliding that right leg back behind you. So the more parallel your shin is to the top of your mat, the more intense this will be. So you can bring the foot back towards your right hip a little more if you need to. You can even be sitting on that foot, or if you need some help, have a towel or something under your left hip for support. Or again, just remember, you can take that modification of having your right knee out to the side instead of having that leg straight back behind you. But try to do whatever you did on the other side. So for me, I did a little bit of a combination of sitting up, working on strength in my hips, and then eventually leaned over that front leg to get more of a stretch. So just try to do whatever you did on the other side. Really putting your awareness into that left hip and trying to release gripping, release tension. Breathe into it. One last breath. And then work your way back up to a seat, swinging the right leg in front of you now. So that left foot is inside your right thigh, and you're going to find your lowest grip, something similar to the other side. Maybe grab your foot, ankle, calf, hands on either side of that leg, whatever you did on the other side. And then we'll take an inhale with the grip, lengthen, and exhale, fold, keeping the leg straight so that you're stretching the hamstring. You want to make sure that you keep your foot flexed as well, so you're stretching into your Achilles tendon and your calf as well. Relaxing the head. One more breath. And then we'll inhale up. Let's bring both legs out in front of us. So once you do that, you'll probably have to work your hips back behind you a little bit. So you have a sense of sitting forward some. You can always roll up the back of your mat to sit on to kind of lift the hips a little bit and get a little bit more of an anterior tilt in your pelvis to help you if you need to. If you feel like you're sitting here and you're really rounded forward and it's difficult to reach forward. So we're going to, again, find your lowest grip. Keep your legs straight. So maybe you grab your shins, ankles, or your feet. And then with the grip, inhale, lengthen, and exhale, fold. Again, keeping the feet flexed. So try not to let the feet come inward. You want to have them flat, like you're standing up against a wall. You could even move up against a wall and have your feet on the wall if you'd like. more breath. Let's inhale up and into butterfly. So we're going to bring the soles of the feet together. Now, if your hip flexors are really tight, your knees are going to be up really high. You don't want to close the feet up because that just brings the knees up higher. You want to try to open your feet up like a book. See how much of the sole of your foot you can get shining up towards the ceiling, okay? And from there, you can take the outer edge of your feet and press them into each other. And that activation actually releases some tension in the hip flexors and allows the knees to come down a little lower. You can always just stay here if this feels like enough for you, or we'll go ahead and lengthen on your inhale and then hinge forward on your exhale, coming down, getting a bit more of a stretch in the hips. From there, you can even push your elbows into your knees if they're still up pretty high and sort of help lower them a little bit, making sure that wherever you go, whatever your deepest part of the posture is, you feel challenged, but you feel comfortable holding it. You're not straining yourself. You're not going too far. You're listening to your body. One more breath here, and I'll give you another option. So you can stay, or we can take a twist with this. So you can have your right hand behind you, left hand on that right knee, and take it into a twist. Keeping both sit bones rooted down into your mat, nice long spine. Take one more breath. And then we'll go to the other side, twisting to the left. And go ahead and release. So now we're going to lay down on our mat and we're going to do a couple bridges. And I suggest having your block for this. You don't have to, but I find that just creates a more engaged, active, low body if you're able to place a block between your knees. So for bridge, we bend our knees and we bring our heels in towards our hips. You can hopefully reach down and touch both heels and know that your toes are pointed straight ahead. And then take that block and squeeze it between the knees. Your hands will stay on either side of you here. You're going to exhale, and then on your inhale, push into the feet and lift the hips up. From there, maybe continue lifting hips and belly and chest, rolling your shoulders under you, maybe taking a clasp with the hands underneath you. So you're really pushing into your upper arms and your shoulders as well. Really lifting everything high, squeezing your block, and then energetically draw the heels towards your hands. Feel the hamstrings activate. One more breath. And then we'll lower down. Just keep your block there. We're going to do a second set. So just take a breath here. And then we'll set up for a second set. So squeezing your block, exhale out all of your air. And then on your inhale, push down into the feet. Lift the hips. Really activating the legs by squeezing the block and drawing the feet back towards the hands. Low body is really active. It sends a message to your low back that it doesn't need to grip, to lift a little higher. And we'll release. And remove your block. Just let your knees knock together. Take a breath here. Now we're going to take a supported bridge. So you'll take your block. Most people find this mid-level of the block to be exactly right for them in a supported bridge. But if it feels like too much, you can lower it down to that lower level. So you'll lift your hips and slide the block under your sacrum to support your pelvis. Now, if you're using a book or something like that, you might to put a towel over it for a little cushion so that it feels better here. But we're going to enjoy this supported bridge for a couple breaths here, having your heart below your legs. It's helping to send the blood supply back into your heart. So it helps to lower your heart rate, slow your heart down. Maybe you can begin to slow your breath down as well. And then this is one of my favorite hip flexor stretches. So we're going to bring our right knee in. You're going to interlace all 10 fingers around that knee and pull it in towards your right shoulder. Now already you start feeling a big stretch here on this left side. So maybe that's enough for you and you can stay right there. If you want a little more, then extend the left leg. Just let it hover off of your mat. And as you're extending it, you're really actively reaching it for that top part of your mat. And then you can point the toes, flex the foot, hold where you like it, or I prefer to sort of just go back and forth between pointing and flexing. So I'm stretching my left hip flexors, but I'm also getting a little bit of action there, some work in that area as well. One more breath. And then you'll bring your left foot back down to the mat if you had extended that leg, and bring your right foot down then as well. Take a breath. And then when you're ready, bring your left knee in, interlacing the fingers around that knee, pulling it in, and maybe extending the right leg if you did that on the other side. Either keeping the foot flexed or pointing the toes, but really reaching that leg for the top of your mat, and then maybe even going back and forth there with flexion and extension in the foot and the ankle. One more breath. And you can bring the right foot down for support. Left foot meets it. Take a breath here. And then push into your feet. Lift your hips up and remove your support. Move it off to the side. We're going to take a reclined twist to finish off here. So you want to make sure nothing is in your way on either side of you. Bring your left leg out long on your mat. Bring your right knee into the right shoulder again. Then you're going to take your left hand and guide that leg across the body. Right arm extends out and you'll look over the right shoulder. So we take the twist into the cervical spine as well, if that feels okay on your neck. If not, you can look up towards the ceiling. Last breath. And we'll bring that knee back in. One more squeeze and then release it down. We'll bring the left knee in, hug it in tight, and then take your right hand to guide it across your body and into your twist. Left arm extends, looking over the left shoulder then. Last breath. Go ahead and bring that knee in for one more squeeze. Release it down. And then let's take a happy baby before our final Shavasana. We'll grab the outside of the feet. Feet are facing up towards the ceiling. Knees come to either side of your body and you can rock a little side to side. So stretching the hips, Massage. Good. And then when you're ready, release the legs long down to the mat. Arms come out to either side of you, palms up towards the ceiling. Fingers gently curled. Close your eyes. Relax your entire body, letting go of control of the breath, letting go of any thoughts, letting go of any tension. Just enjoy a nice little shavasana as long as you can here. Namaste.